Perfect.
Okay.
Let me know if that goes
Started
through.
the recording.
Awesome. All right. Sorry for the delay, everybody. Welcome to this morning's event. We did things a little bit differently this time, really looking at different ways to create some engaging content on the socials. And you all responded, or some of you did at least, to some content put out around joining a strategy session with us. Typically, we call that the Coffee and Marketing Talk event. Which is where you all find yourselves this morning. So I want to say welcome. Thank you so much for joining. Co-host with me today, Rochelle, who's also going to be providing value. But really what we want to do today is we want to hear from you. We want to hear what's going on in your world, where you're at in your business, where you're at in the strategies that you have and are implementing in your social life. And we really want to just brainstorm together to really help take those to the next level when it comes to building your brand on social. So I want to say welcome to each and every one of you. Thank you so much for being here. And let's jump right into this. I think I'm going to do kind of just go around the room first and kind of get people to introduce themselves and their business so we have some context around the room. I'm going to start with Aaron because I'm looking right at him.
Yeah, well, I'm not really looking right at you. I got something on my eye, but it's all good. My name is Aaron Cromwell. I am the head guy at One Wild Voice, brand development, management, and creative. And if I was to describe what it is I do, I would put it this way. I use mind control to manufacture time and mental energy for business owners. And I use creativity to implement that mind control. That's simply put what I do.
Love it. Love it. Let's go to Ashley. Oh. And just unmute yourself if you're muted there, Ashley.
Oh, no, we're employing all the technological tricks now. Check your microphone on the options there.
Well, we'll come back. We'll come back to you, Ashley. Let's go to Avril.
Hi, everyone. I'm Avril Ewing, and I'm an officiant and celebrant, and I serve couples and families from birth to the grave and weddings in between.
Fantastic. Jeff, let's go to you.
Yeah, Jeff Finney from Serendipity Yoga. I think that speaks for itself. So we have a yoga studio here in Prince Edward County, and we service Airbnbs, wineries, and anything else in between.
Love it. Love it. Ashley, how are we doing?
Nope. Oh, the worst feeling ever.
Zoom is a little bit interesting. You might have to.
Do you have Rochelle, an external mic on, Ashley?
What we'll do, we'll get Rochelle, if you can work with Ashley on the tech side as we begin the session, work with her behind the scenes to see if we can get that mic going for her. All right, so let's jump right in. The goal here is to provide value. And what I want to do is I want to open this up because I think what's going to happen here today and the framework that I want to set for this meeting is that we're all going to learn from each other. I think that bringing together synergies and bringing together people with like-mindedness and all with the same goal of wanting to grow their brand, grow their business. I think there's something to be said about speed when it comes to being able to have those conversations in a group of like-minded people and then going the distance as far as executing what has come out of those meetings. So I'm actually going to start with Aaron because Aaron, I love the brand, love what you're working on, but really what I want to hear from you today is where are you at, man, in your business? What are some challenges or successes or things that you're experiencing right now in the social world that you're excited about or challenged by that you want to just run by everybody and let's dialogue about it. Let's brainstorm about it. I'll leave
Sure,
the
I
floor
can
to
kind
you.
of give you a snapshot of where I'm at, and maybe sort of fast forward you up to the present from where I started. I launched this business full time in November, so I'm still fairly new at the actual full time entrepreneur business thing. I came up with a bit of like a plan for how I was going to execute things, not just on a social level, on kind of all levels. And I am probably a little too much of a fly by the seat of my pants kind of guy, and ended up taking on probably a little bit more than I ought. And a lot of what I've been doing is kind of catching up to my aspirations. Now, I originally set out a plan for how I was going to do social media, and then I never ended up executing it because I fell victim. I'll say this: I fell victim to the perfect is better than done strategy. So the over planning thing, which is it's a thing I deal with. It's like constantly dealing with that. Having said that, where I'm at currently is probably where a lot of business owners find themselves, which is this position where you have more than enough to do and you're trying to prioritize things, but you realize that your social media is a key promotional vehicle with regards to how you advertise and how you market and communicate who you are and connect with people. So it has to be prioritized, but I'm currently looking at how I juggle those things. That said, um, something happened in the last few days. My cousin, Chris Cromwell, who used to live in this community, he's actually out west now. He accepted a challenge from a guy on LinkedIn, which he's actually cross-platformed, called the 31-day challenge, which is you shoot a video every day for 31 days. And
Saw
so,
that.
yeah, I came up with a content, like a rough content outline for things. So I've got the sort of key recurring media items I want to produce, and I'm ready to pretty much ready to pull the trigger on those. The thing I'm going to be coming up with over the next couple of weeks is an actual formal monthly social media schedule to determine exactly what social media I'm going to release that content on and when. But in the meantime, because it's going to take me a little bit of time to get that done, probably not that much. In the meantime, I'm just going to tackle that challenge and produce simple videos every day for probably 31 days. The second I come up with a 31-day schedule of kind of what I want to communicate in those 31 days, I'm just going to start filming and simple editing and just go. I came up with a deadline to start that of April 1st. I imposed a psychological deadline for before March ends. So I'd like to actually start a little bit earlier than my deadline. And that's where I'm at. Strategically, I just came up with, and it's pretty simple. I came up with some sort of a recurring program type thing that I could do that was simple, easy, and short. I called it One Wild Moment, playing off of my brand. And essentially it's talking about any single thing that I happen to have been thinking about at any given point in my life. There's room for me to modify, but I've actually got, I think, 40 or 50 of them scheduled out for what I could talk about. And then pursuant to that, or rather actually before that, all of those will represent my blog. So basically my blog becomes a script for those individual individual video clips. And then long form wise, because I think long form is good, I want to have a discussion series called Other Wild Voices, where I basically bring in people in the community to speak about some area that I see in them with regards to brand that's relevant and that they could speak into. And then also, in addition, obviously that long form content can be cut up into shorter form content. And that's basically all I have right now with regards to recurring stuff. And in addition to that, I kind of set out some of the things that I'm going to be posting on my social media. I'm pretty much a given that home life will be part of it. You'll see pictures of my kids because it's where I am and what's important to me. But I hope to have a nice balance of kind of, the encouragement with life, brand, and also just real life around the house. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm going.
Aaron, I love the well thought out plan around this. I love that you're taking up that 30-day challenge. Like, I'm really actually curious to see how that goes. I'd love to like check in with you on that and see how you're doing with that, because I think it's awesome. When you think about like your overall like objective with social media, because I know like we do some work together. I see you pushing people in that direction. Like when we talk objective, like what's kind of your primary objective? Because, like for some people, primarily it's brand awareness. For some people, it's lead gen. For, what I mean? Like there's different kind of facets of what the primary objective could be. What would you say yours is?
I'm probably a bit of a weirdo, and I mean, either take it with a grain of salt or be like, oh, gee, this is someone who probably has thought about this, because I've spent a good portion of my life considering about the interplay of brand marketing and advertising. Social media is just an advertising vehicle. It's no different than putting up a billboard or being on the radio or any of those things. The problem is not with advertising. The problem is with the baggage associated with the word advertising. It's like talking to someone and saying, I want you to do sales. The first thing they're going to say is like, oh, I'm not a salesperson. And the truth is everybody's a salesperson. You're constantly doing it. In the same way, you're always advertising. It doesn't matter what you're doing. The question is, what are you producing? So with that backdrop, my goal is the same goal that I have in life. Be out there, connect with people, and encourage. That's it. That is my whole mission in life. Encourage people to do something bigger and be more. Because if everyone's pushing for something bigger, if they have a higher purpose in their mind than just, the 9 to 5, doing the job, trying to make a living, save up enough for retirement, like it's good to be industrious, but how much better is it to be more and to build something that someone else benefits from, not just you and your family? So that's my goal. Connect with people, be honest. I don't believe in work-life balance. I believe work is life and life is work. You can't segment the two, especially when you work from home. But even if you don't work from home, it's all just life. And so really all my social media my objective is to live life everywhere, including online.
Beautiful.
And I should say, the secondary or the implied expectation is there that I'm going to make a living and build something with this, right? That people will come alongside, they'll say, hey, I like the juice he's drinking, and they're going to follow and pull in the same direction. And together we build something, and our community wins, and my children stay home. Like they don't leave, they don't go find opportunity somewhere else. They see what dad has built. They don't want to leave it. They love this community, and I'm surrounded by great grandchildren. That's the plan.
Gotcha.
So in short, Josh, my goal with social media is to have great grandchildren. That's the goal. That's what I'm going for here.
Well, when I and correct me if I'm off track, Aaron, because I certainly don't want to put words in your mouth. Like I think you're talking about longevity of brands. Like you're wanting to be around for a while. And by the way, you want your kids and their kids to be around for a while. And if putting yourself out there in a way that impacts other positively supports that goal, then you're all for it.
My business's tagline is brand is life. And at the end of the day, there's no inheritance that you leave that lasts like brand does, because brand is generational. Money is not generational. The next generation can spend all my money like that, and it doesn't really matter who I am. The next generation can spend all Bill Gates' money. It sounds impossible because he's got a whack ton of money, but they could do it. So the money doesn't last. Buildings will fall apart. But, the inheritance of a generation, seeing the previous generation being something and becoming that can go on forever. So brand is life is my tagline for a reason. I sincerely believe that it's everything. I've flirted with other taglines like, brand is legacy and brand is everything. The truth is brand is just a businessy sounding word for all that you are in the eyes of your community. All that you create and all the things that you create, what do people see when they look at it? It's so much bigger than people get it. We make it trite when we talk about it, and when people think about it as a logo, it's so much more. It's life and it's legacy, and it means something greater than we probably all give it credit for. So yes, you encapsulated it quite well.
Love it, Aaron. And I think this will bring value to everybody on this call. when we talk about like, you know, building our brand on social, but like we're the person doing it, like we're the engineer, and we're also doing everything else in our business. One thing I'm observing, and I actually like, and I'll share it, and people can kind of take what they want from it, is the transparency around like letting your audience know when you're available and when you're not. And what I mean by that is, like this past Christmas, we did a holiday shutdown for like the last few weeks of the year, and we basically just went on social and said to everybody like, "Yep, okay, you're not going to see us until like next year." And we let them know, here's the date that we're going to be back online, and basically like, you know, don't expect to hear from us until then. I think that is totally a good way as far as communication, because one thing in branding, and Aaron, I know you love this, is the consistency of the messaging, right? The consistency of like, you know, showing up, and what does that look like? And I think that like there's a lot of stress around entrepreneurs that feel like they have to be consistent, but almost to a point where it's like sacrificing, like, you know, the life part, right? Like the work, the life, like sacrificing that a bit. So I think it's like, I think people need to feel like they have permission to just say to their audience, like, hey, like I'm taking off for 2 weeks. I'm doing a vacation. Like I'll see you back here in 2 weeks. So I just wanted to kind of leave you guys with that. Aaron, hold on to that thought. Hold on to some, I want to come back to you on some challenges. Let's go to, did we get the mic thing sorted out for Ashley? No? Okay. Let's go to Jeff. Actually, no, let's go to Avril. We'll go to Avril next.
Okay.
So we're talking challenges, like where are you
Oh,
at?
right. Sorry, I forgot the question. So challenges right now. I got so into what Aaron was saying, I totally forgot the question.
Yeah, we're talking challenges, like, you know, where are you at in your journey right now? What are some things that, you know, you want to dialogue about? Maybe it's a challenge, maybe it's something that's working for you that we can rap about on the call today.
Yeah, I mean, my socials are going well. They're growing all the time. I just recently removed a whole bunch of accounts from my Instagram, people who were following me and that weren't, you know, look like bots. Like, I'm like, I don't know who you are. So I just deleted a whole bunch of them. You know, engagement's good. My Facebook engagement's good. My reach is huge. You know, I usually get 15 to 30,000 reach on posts. So, you know, that stuff's going well. Bookings are coming, inquiries are coming, all of that stuff. The challenge that I'm having right now is sort of taking that next step. Like, how do I go from this sort of little business to something bigger and make more money at it? So, you know, there's only one of me. So I can only be at so many weddings at a time. And, you know, everybody wants 4 o'clock on a Saturday. So I turn away right now more business than I'm booking, which, you know, it's a princess problem, but still it's like, it's frustrating because people are not, they're not right now, especially when we've had all the 2020 weddings move to 2021. And now you've got all these couples trying to book 2021 weddings, these like new couples, and they're not willing to be flexible with their ceremony start time. And so they'll want a date in October and they'll say, you know, 4 o'clock. And I'm like, I can do 3:30. Like, that's the best I can do. And they're like, no, that's not going to work with our timeline. And I'm like, well, what's your timeline? Like, your caterer hasn't started cooking. So it's not like dinner is going to be ready at a certain time. So I just like, I don't know what the issue is. And people get so committed to their timelines that they're losing out on amazing vendors because they're not willing to be flexible. The other issue that I'm having right now is that my pricing is 2019 pricing. And I didn't raise my prices in 2020. I didn't want to be that person who would take advantage of the panic in the pandemic. And so I didn't raise my prices, but now I do want to raise my prices because people are getting 2019 prices for 2022 weddings. And that's, becoming an issue. And then I've got people who booked me in 2019 for 2020, moved to 2021, and now want to move to 2022. And they're arguing about rescheduling fees. They're arguing about the deposits when they decide they want to cancel, all of that stuff. But the big issue is that wanting to raise my prices in a culture where people make their wedding budgets with no idea how much things cost, right? So I'll say, well, here, it's going to cost you $400. And they say, okay, that's way more than what we budgeted for an officiant. And it's like, well, where did you get your budget numbers from, right? And they're like, oh, well, we just made them up. We just assumed it would just be $100, And so, and
Right.
then, and then I see them go from my Facebook page and my messages on my Facebook, and then I see them in the groups asking, well, how much does an officiant normally charge? And then they find out they charge way more than I usually do. And then they come back to me and I'm like, well, no, you've already tainted the relationship. So I don't really want to work with you now. You know what I mean? Because I don't want anyone to be bitter while we're standing here at this really important moment in your life. And I don't want to have hard feelings, and I don't want them to have hard feelings. So as soon as somebody starts arguing about the price, I'm no longer available. But what happens is sometimes, like when I follow up with people, they'll come back and say, oh, yeah, we found someone who fits better into our budget. And I'm like, so people are charging less than I am. And I found out recently that I'm actually at the lower end of officiants. I only charge $350. I want to raise my prices. But I'm like, okay, so what's going to happen if I do? If I saw that most officiants charge $500 to $650. So, I would like to be making that kind of money as well, but I don't want to have money arguments. I don't, you know what I mean? I don't want to lose the amount of weddings that I normally get because people think that an officiant should be $100.
Avril, is your pricing public?
Yes. It's on everything, because what I don't want is to have to deal with hundreds of conversations a day of people who just want to know the price. So if you just want to know the price, then if you want to know the value, by all means, come chat. But if all they care about is the price, if they're tire kickers, if they're price shoppers, then their price is there, that's it. And even my auto reply on Facebook has the option to say how much is the ceremony, and then automatically replies and tells them the cost of everything.
This is the problem, Avril, where people undervalue the services that people offer. And I think you should raise the price, definitely, because I mean, as you said, you're turning away people now because you're overbooked. You want the people that value the service, and lowering prices and keeping them lower undervalues all of the work that you do, undervalues the training that you take. We get the same problem with the yoga classes. They expect, free classes, $5 a class, and it's undervaluing all of the work that you put into your brand, into your training, into all the services that you offer. And really, you want to get the people that want to value everything you bring to the table. And I think having a marketable price, a competitive price, doesn't have to be the top, certainly should never be near the bottom, because you're worth it. And what you provide to your clients is worth it. And I think people tend to see, if you're already on the low end, then we can barter with you because you're not valuing yourself as much as you should. So I think by all means, you should come up to the marketable rate and show that you have value, because you obviously do. And I clearly know that you do, because we used your services.
Yes,
but,
for background, I did Jeff and Janice's wedding.
Yes.
Avril, can I clarify? Can I clarify something?
Yeah.
Avril, the money arguments, is that only people that are looking to rebook, that have already booked, but then they push their wedding on? Or is it people that are buying from you for the first time?
I get both. So people, I'm like, if you've booked in at 2019 prices and you didn't get married in 2020, and then you didn't get married in 2021, you've decided now you're not going to get married in 2021. And then now you want to push again. I've instituted a $100 rescheduling fee, because it's a massive amount of work to keep moving everybody's files around, to keep everybody update, to be responsible for all of this rescheduling and not make a mistake, because making a mistake could ruin a wedding. So and could ruin my reputation and, everything like that. So I get the arguments about that. And then I also get the arguments from people who, when they ask the price and they find out the price, then they'll say, well, that's higher than everybody else. And not, which in the area that I'm in, there are officiants doing, full 45-minute ceremonies for $100 and $200 and no travel fee. And they'll travel hours. They'll do an 8-hour round trip for $100. So this is what they're not my competition, but this is what's out there. And this is what's affecting the industry. And people don't, they think, oh, you just stand there for 20 minutes and 30 minutes and talk. But I represent the laws of the province of Ontario. So I'm basically like a lawyer when I show up. I sign a very legal binding document and I'm responsible for the management of that document. And people just think, oh, you just stand there and talk. So people don't understand.
Right. So let's go to the first point, because you made a first point before this one around the business. You're at a point now where you want to go to the next step. You want to build it, grow it beyond just you doing the work. Am I on the right track?
Yeah, like I've been juggling some ideas about building a bigger business. A wedding coach in Las Vegas said to me, why don't you have a team of officiants? But the laws in Ontario might prohibit me from that. So it's something I need to look at. But definitely, I mean, it would be interesting to think about growing the business and having other officiants under me that I could farm out and pay them what I want to pay them and make money off of them as well.
So that's something you're wanting to get into. You just don't know the legalities around it yet.
Yeah, because in Ontario, we deal with being licensed by the province. We deal with being registered. Our license is held by an organization outside of the province, the provincial offices. Like there's different layers to it. So would I, the legalities would be a surrounding, could I create a company that also where somebody else holds my license in another company, basically. Yeah.
Gotcha. What?
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, just one quick thing. Like, is there an opportunity where you can hire somebody that doesn't need the credentials, but they can do some of the more administration type side to the business and free you up from that perspective as a baby step?
Yeah, I mean, the administration end isn't that huge. It's usually just, some paperwork and talking to the couples and then filing paperwork and all that stuff. But I do have a VA that when I do need bigger stuff done, I just hand it off to her so that she takes care of it. And then I don't have to worry. And I know it's done right because we can't know how to do everything, right? So, but yeah, in terms of handing off the marriage end, like the wedding end, I can't do that. I need to have my hands in that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Jeff, you had a comment? Was it Jeff that had a comment or Aaron?
Yeah. I just, when all you have is a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. It's like everything you're saying, Avril, is number one, like I can hear the frustration. and number two, like I'm just thinking about this from a problem solving standpoint and from a type of guy who is, more visionary than practical. I do deal with practical things, but the first thing I thought of was the story of the $5 sweater. Do you know that story? Where, a guy's walking to work, he walks the same route every day, walks past the same store, and in the window there's this sweater and it's got a $5 price tag hanging on the sleeve, and day in and day out he walks past on the way to work, on the way from work, sees this sweater. One day as he's walking by, after it's been sitting there for weeks and weeks and weeks, he sees the shopkeeper go into the window and pull the sweater out. And on the way home, he passes by and sees the price is now $50. And he goes, what? The guy's not selling the sweater. Why would he raise the price to $50? It's dumb. You think he'd like put it on clearance. The next day he walks by and sees the sweaters out of the window. Curiosity gets the better of him. He walks in. He says, excuse me, there was a sweater in the window. It's been there for weeks. And I watched you raise the price on it. Did you just take it out of the window and give up? He's like, oh no, I sold it the same day. He said, what do you mean? He's like, well, people saw a $5 sweater and no one wanted it. Yeah, right. So the point is that value is a bit subjective. Perceived value is everything. And I'm sure that we've all been in this position. I've priced myself out of, and I've only been in business for a few months. I've priced myself out of several bids because I didn't bother worrying about the price or what my competition was doing or whatever it was doing. I said, what makes this worth it for me to do it? And then that's the number I put on it.
I want to go to Ashley. Ashley, did you get your mic working there?
I switched to my phone.
Okay, awesome.
We're good?
We can hear you.
Okay. Sorry, I was having troubles with my phone this morning, so I didn't want to start out with technology troubles. Go figure, right? So I guess a quick little introduction. I'm Ashley Northern. I run Northern Collective. It's modern macrame, art, wall hangings, plant hangers, shelves, that sort of thing. I guess so. We're kind of talking about our struggles, or
yeah, any challenges or anything specifically. Like I want to provide as much value for us. I wish we had more time, but it goes straight to maybe a challenge where you're at right now.
Right now, I'd say a current challenge that I'm dealing with is mining. Somebody else had to explain this term to me when I told her what was going on, but basically I have people in the area who are kind of one step behind me and picking into what I am doing, and it all just seems quite coincidental. I'm not like retaliating. I'm not going up to them. I'm not, stirring the pot or anything, but how do we kind of deal with things like that, where it's people who are trying to steal our thunder by copying us?
Ashley, I'm going to tell you right now that the way you're looking at it, I have a different vantage point. I'll share with you just real quickly. What those other people are doing to you and taking your idea, if you will, that's the biggest form of flattery in business you're going to get. I'm serious. Like, that is the biggest form of flattery in business that you're going to get. I would actually celebrate the fact that your brilliance in what you do is brilliant to the extent that somebody else wants to utilize that for themselves because they know just how good it is. I wouldn't take that as something that you need to monitor or use as a negative, or somebody's trying to steal your thunder. I would actually do the opposite. I would take it as, wow, I'm that good that somebody wants to take what I'm doing and use it for themselves because it's brilliant. And that means I'm brilliant, or it's just an affirmation of that, if you will. So that 100%, that's the way I would look at it.
Cool. Yeah, if I can just show you exactly, because it's like, if you're so good that people are copying you, you now know how good you are.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
You're the
Absolutely.
leader.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you don't want to be like, oh, I'm so much better than everyone, right? I'm not. But it's kind of hard when I feel like, since I only just moved to Ontario 2.5 years ago, I don't have as many organic connections as somebody else who is more situated from the area is. So I kind of worry about that sort of thing.
Listen, actually, almost no idea under the sun is new. It's just evolved. Everything that we do is there's some sort of remnants of that we can probably point to in the past.
I know a few things, never claim to know it all, but I know it's off. Never noticed y'all. Hit a protocol, need an overhaul.